Today is the most crucial day for a 12-year-old living in Singapore.
This is the day that you've been waiting for. So we will release the results now.
Jamie, my youngest daughter, is also collecting her PSLE results today. I'm finally getting a break from work, so I'm going to call my 12-year-old for an update on her results. I cannot believe that I'm still this nervous when she's my third one. Hi, sweetie. Yeah. Oh, okay, 我现在有一点心理准备. Now tell me.
Go by register number. Ira. Okay.
Have you seen it yet?
No.
Singapore is known to have an extraordinary focus on academic results.
Are you upset with me for pushing you like this?
Yes, no,
Yes or no?
both.
In recent years, sweeping changes have been made to reduce the emphasis on academic results. Since the PSLE scoring system changed in 2021, do you think parents are more or less stressed?
I find that parents, they are more stressed.
But it doesn't seem to be helping.
I tell them it's my job to work, it's your job to study.
Actually, I really feel the peer pressure from surrounding friends. Oh, your son is PSLE this year. What have you done?
In this episode, I want to get to the bottom of what's driving Singapore's obsession with grades.
I want to get AL1 for all subjects.
Let's imagine in the future when you are parents, would you want your kids to go through PSLE? And reveal what this fixation is doing to our children. I have invited 20 primary 5 and 6 students from schools across Singapore to our studio. They are each given 20 cones in 4 different colors. Each color represents a source of stress. The rules are very simple. If you agree with this statement, please pick up the blue cone and place it on the square in front of you. It is important to my parents that I get good grades. My parents have scolded me because of bad grades. My parents have or will reward me when I get good grades. My parents have or will send me for tuition to prepare for the PSLE. My parents have compared my grades with my friends' grades. Out of the 100 blue cones, there are 70 blue cones on the ground. This represents the number of times the kids agreed on the statements relating to parental pressure. Xavier, so you agree with all 5 statements?
Yeah. If I don't do that well, right, then they'll be kind of disappointed because they really put in a lot of money into the tuition. It's like kind of common for them to like compare, because I realize a lot of other parents also like to compare their children's grade with other people's grade.
When your parents started comparing your grades with other people's grades, how did that make you feel?
It made me feel disappointed in myself as I did not do as well as my friends.
You're in P5 now. How much tuition do you have?
I have tuition almost every weekday.
How do you find the tuition?
I find tuition long and boring as it just takes up my time and sometimes it doesn't even help me.
Claire, so you agreed with 2 statements. So I'm curious, good grades are not important to your parents, and yet they send you for tuition and compare results with your friends. Why is that so?
They don't really mind if I get a failing grade, but at the same time, they want me to do better than average at least.
What's the best subject you've ever scored so far?
Science,
Science? What did you get?
AL1.
Wow, it's really hard to score for science. Did your parents not praise you when you got there?
I don't think they really put a lot of focus on it because I think they were more focused on my other subjects because I didn't do so well.
Next, the red cones. These represent self-imposed stress.
Having good grades means that I'm smart, means that I will have a brighter future. Anyone can get good grades if you work hard enough. I feel disappointed in myself when I get a bad grade. I consider myself a failure if I don't get the results I aim for the PSLE.
42 out of 100 red cones have been picked up by the children. Looking at the numbers, parents seem to be the bigger source of stress for these kids compared to self-imposed stress.
Both of you agreed with the statement that you are a failure if you don't get the PSLE results that you aim for. Why?
It's because the grades that I may get are not really up to my standard, not to my parents' standard. It's bad grades, actually.
Joshua, what about you?
My mother and my father put a lot of money, but end of the day when I fail, they will be very disappointed.
Do you think that you give yourself a lot of stress?
Sometimes, yes. Because I want to get to a good secondary school of my choice, so it can help me further on life.
Who told you that?
My parents.
So it seems the stress these kids place on themselves still inadvertently comes from the parents. Yellow cones represent stress coming from teachers.
My teacher announces the top scorers for tests and exams, praises specific students for getting good grades, pushes me to get good grades, expresses disappointment, stresses on the importance of the PSLE.
My Chinese teacher was reading out from highest to lowest, and then I was one of the last 10 people. Then she will read your name and your score. You're kind of sad, and it's the class you split into fours, and then that corner towards the bottom left is all the people who score quite low.
You also agree that the teacher stresses you.
They don't even know that you're stressing you out by saying, oh, you're doing really well, because they have really high expectations of you once you get a certain grade.
So adults have to tread very carefully what we say.
Yes.
And finally, the green cones, which represent peer pressure.
I tend to compare my grades with my friends' grades. My friends often compare their grades with mine. I need to outdo my friends in exams. I feel upset when my friends score better than me. My friends encourage me to get good results.
When I look at the display of colored cones, blue stands out. The largest source of stress on these kids? Parents. The fewest number of cones are the red ones, so comparatively, there is less self-imposed stress. As a parent of 3, the result of this social experiment does not surprise me. Still, I wanted to dig deeper into what really lies behind our obsession with our children's grades. So I commissioned a nationwide survey covering parents of primary 5 and 6 kids. This is the first survey since the recent education reforms in Singapore. "85% of parents say their child is stressed by the PSLE. 64% say they themselves are stressed by the major exam.
While not all parents are stressed, almost all parents say PSLE scores are important.
We asked why and gave them 6 choices. The top 2 reasons: getting into a secondary school of their choice, 69%, and a good score being a stepping stone to a good future or career, 64%. How did the PSLE evolve into such a high-stakes exam?
I took my PSLE in 1984, and back then it was an entirely different scoring system. Double weightage was given to the first and second languages, and on my results slip was shown the highest and lowest scorers for my cohort.
Jason Tan is a former school teacher who has been commenting on the local education system for nearly 20 years. He took the PSLE a decade before I did.
Hello, Diana.
Jason, have you got it?
Oh, yes, I have.
Oh my gosh, it says pass to P6. There are no results.
None at all. Well, Diana, you can notice quite a few interesting features here. For one thing, there's no indications of any of the individual subject grades or scores, and I have no indication about how well I performed relative to the rest of my exam cohort.
Were you stressed about the PSLE?
Not at all. Nobody compared results with other students.
Just because you couldn't.
That's true.
That was back in the 1970s. Let's go backwards. Tell us why the PSLE was introduced in the 1960s.
That was a time when the People's Action Party government had just come into power. And one of their promises to the population was to provide equality of treatment for all of the 4 language streams: English, Chinese, Malay, and Tamil. And establishing a common exam in the form of the PSLE meant providing a greater degree of equality of opportunity for access to secondary schools.
Was there the kind of stress that we seem to see today?
Probably not. I think that the pressure intensified after the introduction of streaming at the end of 1980, when your PSLE results determined which of the 3 streams back then, special, express, or normal, you had access to.
So when I took my PSLE, and you get A, B, C, Ds for your results, and then the results were refined even further with the introduction of the A star. Why was the A star introduced?
It was introduced in direct response to complaints from some parents that their children who had scored A's were unable to gain access to their preferred streams or secondary schools. So the Ministry of Education introduced an extra grade, A star, in order to signal greater differentiation among top performers in the PSLE. It is ironic that sometimes the more transparency there is, the more stressed parents and students become.
Let's move on to the 2000s. This is my producer's certificate, dated 2004. By then, the double weightage on languages had been removed. Why did they do that?
That was introduced in a bid to promote bilingualism among students. That policy was subsequently removed in 1985 on the grounds that it meant a less accurate sorting of students into the various streams in Secondary 1. If you were a parent with ambitions for your child to enter, say, a prestigious secondary school or a prestigious stream, you would then think to yourself, now that the double weightages for those 2 subjects have been removed, my child has to perform well in all of the 4 subjects. And that might have, in fact, increased the pressure on students to make sure that they scored equally well across all of their 4 PSLE subjects.
So I have a certificate here from last year PSLE. How different is the AL scoring system? How does it work?
The previous PSLE scoring system involved an aggregate range of over 200. And if you look at the current scoring system, you will see that the total scores range from 4 to 32, which is a vast reduction. And that, I suppose, is what the Ministry of Education calls a reduction in fine differentiation, which is supposed to reduce this constant competitive stress.
It's the school holidays, but it's also barely 4 months to the PSLE.
Hey, Caleb, come. The planning for the June school holidays. I want you to plan for this week. Monday, you have to go back to school for conditioning, Caleb. Tuesday, you have learning journey. Wednesday, also conditioning. Friday, you have band from 9 to 12. At night, I want you to plan Chinese oral practice with me.
Every single day.
Every single day, before you sleep.
There's no schoolwork, then it's tuition work. But if it's no tuition work, then it's the assessment books. So I'm actually very packed. I actually feel like I don't really want to do this, but my PSLE is nearing, and this schedule is packed mainly because of my mom. I have tuition, textbook reading, practice papers and note-taking. I will do different topics on different days. I will do this every single day.
My dad is trying to make me get full marks because I'm making some careless mistake here and there, so my dad just sent me to the boot camp. The boot camp happens 5 times this 1 week, from Monday to Friday, and 1 day is 5 hours.
Okay. So whenever we do this type of question, we have to put it in a very nice format, right?
Boot camps are typically held during the school holidays, with many of them focused on helping primary 5 and 6 students prepare for the PSLE.
Now, do take note, in PSLE, if you encounter any visualization questions that you don't know how to do, skip first.
Fees can go up to 500 Singapore dollars for a 5-day camp, but still, they are oversubscribed.
Normally, odd years are more difficult. We are expecting more challenging types of visualization questions to be shown.
It's clear parents are stressed about the PSLE, but do they know exactly how it's affecting their child? I am revealing the results of the earlier social experiment to parents.
How important are academic grades to you?
If I say not important, right, then a lot of people won't be very happy with me, right?
It's so important for me because I want to have a better future. It will help me to have a better job so that I can spend money on my mother and my dad.
I don't like the thoughts of PSLE and all of those other examinations.
Everybody wants success. I want the best for my children. If everybody's doing it, if I'm not doing it, I think I'm setting him up for failure.
Earlier, I conducted a social experiment to find out what is the biggest contributor of stress to our kids. It revealed parents to be the biggest stressor. I've brought in Amy and Dean, whose children were part of the experiment.
If I don't do that well, right, then they'll be kind of disappointed because they really put in a lot of money into the tuition.
They don't really mind if I get a failing grade, but at the same time, they want me to do better than average at least.
Amy, Xavier said that he's worried that you'll be disappointed if he didn't get good results. How did that make you feel?
As a student, it's their responsibility to, to study well, to get good grades.
But he's afraid to disappoint you.
Every parents, do have some expectation. From grades, definitely it will determine the schools that get it.
Has he ever said that to you directly?
Sometimes when he get the result, not so good, then he say, yeah, Mommy, I'm sorry. I will try harder.
Do you feel guilty when he says that?
I do.
Dean, do you know if your child will be disappointed depending on your reaction?
I think it's very clear that the child picks up on what parents feel. I tell them, it's my job to work, it's your job to study. We also tell them that they're actually not competing with anyone but themselves.
It's funny you said that because to the question, my parents have compared my grades with friends' grades, both the children said yes. Then how did Claire get that impression?
I guess it's more a question of maybe asking her, how well did she think she did in that result, and then maybe getting some information from various sources on how well the others have been doing to kind of then give her her own sense of benchmark in terms of how well she did. I mean, now the education system being so non-focusing on results, there is no class ranking. So maybe perhaps it's this lack of information that is then creating a need by parents to get more information.
The kids have spoken, and it seems that the main source of the stress coming from parents. Are there other sources of stress? And then you transfer the stress to your child.
Actually, I really feel the peer pressure from surrounding friends. Oh, your son is PSLE this year. What have you done? So one of them will share with me, this tuition center is not bad. So from there, since there is information, so I kind of prep my son. Then my son will ask me, why am I going for tuition? Then, oh, no, it's okay, just try only, try. So you see, if you like it.
Sounds so familiar.
I mean, that is a real fact.
Asian parents, we put a lot of stock into how our children do for education. So I think that kind of mentality is in the mind. It's insidious, whether you like it or not.
Saturdays, he has math tuition from 9 to 11. Then he has English tuition from 2:15 to 4:15. On Sundays, he has science tuition from 11 to 1 and Chinese tuition from 3:30 to 5:30. And then Thursday, he has Chinese tuition.
I started my Tamil tuition at P3. I started my math, science, and English tuition at P5.
I feel like we should have sent him earlier because the P5 to P6 is like a big jump. So that's why we feel like tuitions are necessary.
She currently only have one tuition and only for maths. My husband is a sole breadwinner, so it's quite straining financially for us to send them to additional classes actually. If we have a choice, we will put her through lessons, definitely.
After school hours, places like these come to life. That's because tuition is a billion-dollar industry in Singapore. And these days, regular tuition just isn't enough. There are also academic enrichment centers offering unconventional teaching methods. From intense memory practices claiming to stimulate your right brain, to speed calculations, to exercises that supposedly help you excel at maths. And if this looks like child's play, it's not. This 10-minute activity claims to help spatial processing and visual verbal fluency, which would in turn help with maths and reading. Sounds incredulous?
Our nationwide survey of parents with primary 5 and 6 children found that 28% of them have enrolled their child in such programs to prepare for the PSLE.
Even more parents, 60%, sent their children for tuition. Among them, 65% sent their kids to 3 to 4 classes, 6% to 5 or more classes. And it's not just enrichment classes and tuition. 68% say they use assessment books or practice papers.
Here I have the stacks of worksheets.
About 15 school per stack. Past papers means they probably might have came out in past exams and it might come out again in the exams in the future.
Okay, so these are all the science papers. So the next pile is the English pile. It's a lot. So the next pile is math. So these are all the papers I've done. A lot.
Yeah, it's harder, but no other choice. We do spend a lot of money on this. She has to get good marks.
Okay, these are the assessments. And everything here, right? And over here.
This is phrases for creative writing, primary 3 and 4. This is for my math for primary 4. This is my English comprehension skills workbook 4.
P3 and P4 is because PSLE is actually a cumulative of all the work, which is why all these books itself, even though it's P3 and P4, but it's still useful. I think I'm more nervous than he is for PSLE.
But will all of this out-of-school study really translate to results during the national exams? To find out, I'm getting exclusive access to the team that sets the PSLE exam papers.
I have grouped the questions into easy, average, and challenging for the purpose of our today's review.
My perspective of tuition comes from my own experience. When I went to secondary school, my results started getting worse. And then that's when I had my first tuition. But it didn't get any better. You know?
Got even worse?
Yeah, it's just hanging down there. Why? Because I was just not concentrating
Pass
or was not...
fail?
I just passed.
You know, back then, in the past, I do not believe in tuition at all. Until I became a mother, and then I felt like if I have the means to give my child tuition, I should give him whatever he needs.
You've never gone to tuition.
No.
And you forced me to do it.
It's a different era.
Okay.
The overall standard of this examination is comparable to previous years, with a balanced spread of...
For the first time ever on national TV, we are watching the process of how a PSLE paper is set. Today's review is for the 2023 Maths paper.
Starting with the group of easy question. Question 5 tests students' knowledge and understanding of angle properties.
Why are 18, 24 and 63 included as options and not 22?
I think we need to make this part clearer.
Question 12 is intended to be a challenging question.
Yes, we need to include such items.
So does figure 3 need to appear right at the top together with figure 1 and 2?
So can we explore maybe perhaps making changes to this diagram?
I'll confirm these questions then.
The panel has a rigorous debate on all the questions that are being set. Now I know there are easy, average, and challenging questions. For me, the key thing is what is the percentage of allocation for all these 3 categories of questions.
This man was involved in setting the PSLE papers for 8 years.
Tell me, what is the percentage of each category of questions within one paper?
We have 15% of the question in PSLE that is deemed as challenging. And this will be the more higher order thinking skill that's being tested.
Why 15%?
So if we have 15% of the questions for the challenging parts, students will be able to assess largely the 85% of the marks. So already showing that they have the competencies to deal with many different types of questions.
So what I'm hearing is that if you can tackle the easy questions and if you can tackle all of the average questions, minimally, you should be able to get 85 marks without even tackling the challenging questions at all.
I mean, the data has shown as high as close to 50% of students score 75. So in that sense, it's very accessible to the students.
So in tackling such challenging questions, is it possible for me to drill my child? Drill, do different permutations, do different types of questions, go for tuition. Can I then tackle at least most of the challenging questions?
I think drilling doesn't help. What really is important is for students to understand and master the skill set. If the students continue to do a lot of practice paper, without fully understand and appreciate and identify patterns, it will not help because once the context or the shape change, they will not be able to do the questions.
You know, I've been trying to find parents who don't enroll their children into tuition classes, and not because they can't afford it. It took me months to find this parent. Gwen Goh has never enrolled any of her 3 primary school-going children in tuition. And she isn't intending to, even for her eldest daughter, Ashley Ng, who is in primary 6 this year. From P1 all the way to now that Ashley ended P5, 0 tuition. 0.
Just since I just need a pass, then okay. I feel lucky. It's like some other parents will just push their children to get like higher mark. Because I'm not very good at my studies, especially science. So I'm just glad at least a pass can do.
She gets stressed out whenever she receives back her results. So I'll just ask her, you ask herself, do you put in your best effort? She said that I did. And I trust her, so I just say, work harder next time.
Do you think that you might, in a way, be disadvantaging your kids as a result of that?
Maybe, yeah. But I feel that the school teachers' teaching is sufficient. So it's a way to train them to focus in class, telling them that you got no extra help. You have to focus in class.
It's less than 3 weeks before the big exam. This time, Caleb is attending boot camp as well.
Today you're going to do like more than 8 different experiments.
This is an extra class for me. Sometimes I do feel kind of tired and I'm like asking my mom why did she send me for this kind of classes. But I know that it's for my own good.
I already got a DSA for Victoria, but then it's just that I also want to get good marks.
Even though Adyant is guaranteed a spot in the school of his choice, it seems to have done nothing to relieve the pressure to score.
Like now the preparations have intensified. I'm trying to touch on all subjects, like at least 2 papers each day.
Finish?
Finish now.
Okay. He will finish the papers in the morning. Then once we come back, either me or my husband, that we'll take 1 paper and then start correcting. And then he has to listen to the feedback. Varipokan, who is Varipokan?
Bystander.
After work, we just need to work even more harder.
In order to help Caleb with his science, I tried to memorize the science notes that was given to him. I have been taking half-day leave, and nearer to PSLE, I may need to take a full-day leave.
CNA survey found that 56% of parents have or are considering taking paid leave to prepare for the PSLE. 27% have or are considering changing their job role. 34% are considering or have taken no-pay leave. That's not the only sacrifice parents are making. These parents are taking things one step further. On top of sending their children for tuition, they are attending tuition. CNA survey showed that 19% of parents have attended tuition, workshops or seminars to better prepare them for their child's PSLE.
There will always be a later part in the energy question where something changes.
Science tutor Jace Ong started these monthly PSLE prep workshops in 2017.
Now this is what I call a level 1 question. So it's quite basic. Please never ever skip all the statements.
What was your biggest takeaway from today's session, Karen?
For me, it's more to understand the topics that was covered. At least when I go through his papers or his homework, maybe I will have a better understanding of whether he's doing it right.
I think the biggest takeaway is actually common pitfalls and answering techniques to all these questions.
You sound like you are the one sitting for the exam.
I can't go for the battle for him, but I can prepare with him for the battle.
I just want to make sure that everything is on track. It makes me feel more confident, maybe.
Why do you do this? Are grades so important to you? Is that it?
Grades are important to me. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say that. I always give them the choice to choose what they want in life, but they are basis of life choices that I have to be part of. And grades and education is a very important thing to me. You can be the best YouTuber out there, but I need you to have your grades first.
Now, if you recall, under the new PSLE scoring system, instead of T-scores, students will receive their scores in achievement levels. This means instead of having over 200 possible aggregates, there are now only 29 possible scores, ranging from 4 to 32.
Since the PSLE scoring system changed in 2021, do you think parents are more or less stressed?
I find that parents, they are a little bit more stressed. And maybe I'll show you the grading system so that you can have a better idea. First is the AL 1 to 4. where the mark range is actually only 5 marks difference between them. So for parents whose children are scoring within this range, they are a little bit more stressed because any careless mistake or even mistakes that they make, they can go up or down this grade very easily. For science especially, we are looking at 2 marks for every MCQ question. Even with that 2 marks question that they lost, it could cause them an AL grade drop.
In the old scoring system, even if you lose 1 or 2 points, it is going to impact your overall grade, no?
In the olden system, they still had the top band, which is the 91 marks and above, which is they called the A star previously. Now they call it the AL1 from 90. But the second band for the olden system, they actually have it the A grade, which is from 75 marks to 90 marks, which now is actually split into 3 groups, smaller groups of the AL2, 3, and 4. So in the past, the students can drop 2 to 4 marks, but they are still within the second range.
You're still A, for
Yes,
example.
yeah. But now they are in the part where it's really toggling between that 3 AL levels.
Okay, so because AL2 and AL3 is a 1-point difference, and it's going to impact on the cutoff point for your secondary school admission.
Yes, correct.
So basically, in this week, I am doing study, and more study, and 0 games. The board is more.
Are you upset with me for pushing you like this?
No. Yes, no.
Yes or no? Honesty?
Both. Because I still feel that I should have some playtime. I'm like angry that like MOE created PSLE. Can't it just be like the normal exams like P1, P2, P3, P4, those kind of small exams?
Usually, I have like difficulty sleeping at night. And then like when I was studying also, like, my mind would drift off into thinking like what questions will come up in PSLE. I'll use this for writing, and I also have a pencil which is the same color. So I use this for shading the OAS. This is my favorite color, it will just make me lucky. For all the PSLE papers, I'm gonna use all of these so that I'm extra lucky.
I won't eat any egg during the exam or before the exam so that I won't get 鸡蛋. 鸡蛋 means bad grades, I think.
鸡蛋 means 0. So Kayla's birthday is actually during the PSLE period.
Oh, I cannot eat cake.
You can eat
cake has eggs.
There have been many attempts over the years to reduce the overemphasis on grades, starting in 2012 when the tradition of naming top PSLE scorers was dropped. But I can't help getting the feeling that we are still stuck with no results to show. If the adults can't seem to crack this, can the children?
When I think of PSLE, the animal it would be is lion.
It's a lion. A lion because it's like a very big exam.
Because if I fail my PSLE, my mother would eat me up. But if I pass, she will feed me.
No, that's not true. It's the pressure he has upon himself. He doesn't want to fail.
Because it'll kill me, probably.
After months of preparation, it's finally D-Day.
Today I'll focus on English, and tomorrow after I've done my English PSLE, I'll focus on math as that is the next paper.
It's going well so far. I feel like it's going well. I don't know about what is my marks, but I felt like I did well.
Last already, final push already, okay?
PSLE is finally coming to an end, The 6 years that I've been practicing for PSLE is finally gonna pay off.
After the PSLE, over 4 in 10 primary school teachers are mobilized to mark about 300,000 answer scripts, which is why schools are closed during this period. Marking takes 3 days. My daughter is getting her results today. I'm tied up at work, so I can't be at school with her.
Okay, tell me, I'm ready. Okay, are you happy? Well done, sweetie. Congratulations. It's over. No more PSLE. I don't wish PSLE upon anyone, specifically parents.
Ira. Okay. 我先看。So how you feel? Shocked. Shocked when you're happy? Happy lah. Oh my gosh. My Robux, please.
Alright. First thing you ask for is your Robux. Amazing, Caleb.
My results, what I expected was way different. The hard work all paid off.
I cannot be more proud than that. I mean, she deserves it.
Very proud of him.
Relief. So done and dusted. So now we celebrate.
She says she'll make me do practice on the next 8 subjects. Yeah.
He will need to start earlier already. So, but not on all the subjects because we are not exactly sure of the curriculum. But he's starting his science tuition in January next year. So, for secondary school.
So we didn't want to have any filming that day because we were like stressed out. So I was like really tense. Okay, so I was sitting at the puja room and then just praying. When he went to collect the results, it was like, oh, laptop. Yeah.
He did well. So overall, it's I think for me, it's above expectations.
I felt fairly happy. Especially, I felt very happy for math.
Caleb, Ira, and Adiant didn't get perfect scores. One even got a double digit. But yet, they and their parents are satisfied. Probably also relieved at the fact that this huge exam is over. Adiant got into his top secondary school choice via the direct school admission, while Caleb entered the secondary school that is affiliated to his primary school. Ira succeeded in getting into her second choice of school. I arranged to meet the 3 of them a month after they started secondary school. I want to know if their perspectives towards grades have changed after they conquered the biggest exam of their lives.
Is it worth all the effort that you put in for PSLE?
I think it's worth it because it has helped me improve my fundamentals.
If we didn't have the preparations before PSLE, we'd be struggling a lot in secondary school because there's like much more work that we need to do in secondary school.
So maybe we should suggest to MOE to do the PSLE all over again.
What?
Please, no.
Let's imagine in the future when you are parents, would you want your kids to go through PSLE?
Yes. It's a learning point for everybody. But then I really want the PSLE to be postponed, like 14 to 16 years old.
I agree with him. Because when it's postponed, our child will be more mature, then the parents wouldn't be so stressed also.
Since you all don't want to remove the PSLE, how can we make it less stressful? Caleb?
It will start with the parents. less nagging and like probably like more encouraging would do the trick.
So, can I humbly ask you as a parent, tell me the difference between nagging and encouraging?
I feel it's mostly the tone and the facial expression.
The tone and the facial
Like
expression.
sometimes my mom will like widen her eyes like, Kayla.
Oh, okay. So how should I do it?
If your like kids, they didn't like meet your expectations, don't like say like, you never study. Don't like make it sound like you're disappointed with them.
So what advice would you give to parents whose children will be taking PSLE?
You shouldn't buy so much assessment books. Because like my parents bought like way too much assessment books for me in like for preparations. Each assessment book has 100 plus pages. So like how do I complete?
Now that you're in secondary school, do grades still matter?
Yes, I think grades still matter. Your future is dependent on your grades. You can't just slack off. Then, you know, all O-levels are, you know, coming up.
Your PSLE score determines which secondary school you go in. Which secondary school you go in will affect your grades in O-level and everything, and that will affect where you go, like JCs. That will affect like your degrees and everything.
Okay, so nag less, encourage more. Something new I learned today. But I've also realized that a lot of what I've learned in this documentary isn't all that unfamiliar to us. Parents and kids still think that grades are important. So perhaps it shouldn't be about saying that grades aren't important, but rather that grades aren't everything. But shifting the narrative will take time. There still is a lot of work, or should I say homework, that needs to be done.